T.
Miss 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 T.
Can't wait for you to meet Miss T. She is the T in T.
And thank you for tuning in to Sweet Tea Time. You know what? I do this stuff, but it's so much more fun and so much more exciting when I know that you are here with me watching this, hopefully growing as a result of this. Listen, I've stepped on a lot of landmines on my journey to get to where I am, but also where I'm going. So my hope is you're tuning into this so I can help you avoid some of the things that I did so you can get further and higher faster. So today I'm going to talk about your past, but not in a traumatic, we need therapy way. It's not going to be like that. I'm talking about the importance of you owning your past. Most people want to forget their past, but they don't see the gold or the equity or the benefit from some of the mistakes that they made, some of the challenges they experienced, and some of the valleys they walked through. So recently I just did my business conference called Own It, and it's all about you owning it, owning your business, owning your life, owning your legacy, owning all the things that give you joy and fulfillment in your life. You got to start with owning it. Most people don't always own their stuff. They're very good renters, very good leasers, not the best owners. And so I do a conference where it teaches people all about that stuff. People come out flying like Red Bull with wings. It's dope. But so I thought maybe I could share a couple of things from the Own It conference with you. So hopefully I can walk you through a few things that will get you closer to just owning it. And when I say it, I mean all of it, baby. Like own it so that it yields dividends for you in your life and your family's life. So first things first, the past. There's equity in your past. How often are you sharing your story? How often are you sharing the challenges that you went through? How often are you sharing, I went through this challenge and here's what I learned from the challenge? Most people focus on the challenge, but not the lessons, the learning, and the discovery that happened as a result of you experience the challenge. So much like riding a bike, like you got to fall a few times. So if you're one of those people that just talks about how good you are riding a bike, yay you. But what about every time you fell? You're only good at riding the bike because you fell. I scraped my knees, I bumped my head, I scraped my elbows, I had so many band-aids. But you know what I eventually learned how to do? Ride the bike. There are things that you've achieved in your life, whether you're someone in business, someone in the medical field, a parent. Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I skipped my knees, I bumped my head, and I scrubbed my elbows just trying to be a good mom. I could give you war stories around that, but I didn't become a good mom with wisdom and skill and ability until I started just fumbling the ball as a mom. And you know how, growing up, you think, oh, okay, when I become a parent, I'm not ever going to do it like my parents did it. Well, the process of learning, the process of discovery, and the process of failure is what teaches you that. And so, it gives me great empathy and compassion for my parents. My mom was a single mom with 6 kids. So I could complain all day long about what she didn't do well, but 6 kids and a single mom, that's a whole lot. So she did as good as she could do, but she learned things in the process the same way I'm telling you that you got to look at your past so you can learn things. So in telling your story, it establishes a few things. One, it's credibility. There's something to be said about, I'm who I am, but what made you who you are? It's what happened in your journey. So if you're not telling the depth of what you endured, it makes it really hard for you to be credible as how you're showing up in the world today. The second thing is your story is currency. Now, I know that when you say currency, you think about money, but really, truly, your story is currency. It's the thing that flows in and out of your life. It's you that flow in and out of these moments that gives you the ability to multiply and monetize yourself. So your story is your currency. And most often today, people are really looking for, stories. to give them hope, to give them direction, to give education. So if you're not practicing sharing your story, you're missing out on some currency, baby, and credibility. The second thing is your story is your cultural equity. There are things that we experience just in our sect or our realm of things, whether it's your profession or your location. I'm a woman of color. I grew up in the hood, and there are things that I learned as a result of being this kind of human that I monetize by their programs. It's stuff that I speak and teach on when I'm doing public speaking. I've authored books and classes and courses around what I endured culturally. The dance that I do, I started a whole multi-million dollar national organization just on hip hop dance, which is just something that I did culturally before it was even recognized as a real dance discipline. In fact, I was told when I first started my company that hip hop dance, that's not real dance. And I was told that by people who did institutional dance, the ballet, the tap, the jazz. But I didn't learn doing those things. I learned after school doing break dance and hip hop. That was my cultural equity. So fast forward 25 years, 30 years. Okay, so it's really technically 39 years. Fast forward 39 years, I'm still building from that one place of cultural equity called hip hop dance. So don't toss out or don't think that anything, these things of your past are wasted. They're not wasted. Every experience you had is something that can be the brick that builds the life that you want today. So again, very important. Tell your story. And this is all in the process of owning it. I remember, being in a season of my life where I was embarrassed, that I was a welfare recipient for 2/3 of my life. I was embarrassed at the level of poverty that I endured, growing up as a kid. And I also remember, the shame attached to being homeless, um, and raising, trying to, I was homeless with 3 kids. Like, how does a person even get there? You know what I mean? I remember not wanting to own that part of my past. I remember wanting to bury it and never talk about it again. But I can tell you today, again, we're talking about the currency of your past. I use those moments, those really hard moments, by way of storytelling and dream building and just honing in on the things that got me into these places. And some of them were just conditioning, from family and how I grew up. But I use those things today more than I use anything that I learned in college, anything that I learned in business. I use those stories of cultural equity that, again, I didn't want to own them. But now I do, and it helps people because now we can relate. Now we can spar. Now we can share and compare. So, again, when I'm teaching these conferences and I'm working with people and how to really truly own where you're going and own what you want out of life and own, your destiny, which you're entitled to, someplace the best place to start is owning your past and not seeing it, peppered with disadvantage or difficulty, but all of its equity and currency for your future. So, if I could get you to walk away from anything today, like literally right now, it's abandon things like the shame about your past. Really embrace, yeah, I did that, but I went through that. Or, yes, that's how my family is. That's how my family was. That's how my family still is. But it doesn't mean it's not conducive for you to have the lifestyle that you dream about, for you to have the company that you dream about. It just means it's a part of the process and it's a part of your process. And again, hiding from it rather than embracing it, I just learned that that's more of a stalling agent than it is, helpful. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope that little bit of something helps you own your past so you can use the currency of it to build the future that you, your family, your friends, and anybody that you're connected to is dreaming of. Now, if you liked any of this, or if you didn't like it, or if you have questions around any of this, make sure that you're leaving them in the comments and make sure you like, share, and subscribe, especially if you think this moment will be helpful to someone that you love and care about. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you right back here next time for another Sweet Tea Time.